Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
I feel like I had something I was going to tell you this week on the podcast, and I can't think of it. So
I can tell you the next one we do will have a Harry Potter connection. But it won't be Harry Potter vampires yet. You just got real excited.
Interesting. You're not going to tell me, though, are you?
No.
Okay.
But what we are going to talk about today.
I know what it is.
Well, too bad. Okay, so when you think of an animal or an insect that...
My brain just started like, wolf, praying mantis, horse.
We already talked about horses.
Yeah, that's great.
So when you think about an insect or animal that drinks or sucks or has blood,
Mosquito.
Like mosquito is a big one, right?
Yeah.
So mosquito, leeches, lamprey.
I think bed bugs do
Bed
too.
bugs, ticks.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to you about none of those.
Vampire bat?
That is also one that sucks blood, but I'm going to talk to you about not that either.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
Have you ever heard of a vampire finch?
No. Oh, last.
Yes. So
Shout out to dearest brother-in Nathan,
yes.
dearest brother-in-law.
So
Tell me where. Okay, I have so many questions,
Okay.
and I need to let you talk.
you can ask questions.
I'm so excited. No, because you're probably going to cover them anyway.
Well, so you've heard of Darwin's finches on the
Yes.
Galapagos Islands.
yes.
This is a finch.
Jodi Picoult wrote a book about the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, really?
I was not a fan, but
Oh.
that can be for a different episode of Erin's
sure.
Book Corner where she just bitches about things.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's nothing related to vampires or mermaids in it. It just irritated me.
Oh.
I know. Okay.
But these birds are found on the Galapagos Islands.
Ah!
And specifically on, there's like a wolf island, and then there's another one. I might be able to say it as I find it.
I'm
But
like heavy breathing into the microphone. I have a
bird, vampire, finch, science,
Yes!
what? So Charles Darwin collected examples on his famous voyage to the Galapagos Islands, and you can see those really good illustrations of the finch beaks, because that's what sets a lot of them apart on what they eat, and like insects versus seeds, and that kind of their diet and behavior. Oh, Darwin Island is the other one. But these vampire finches are only found on Wolf and Darwin Islands. They evolved to drink blood from birds.
What?
Other birds, yep. Which I'm like, oh, so it's the same species, you know?
Yeah.
So, like humans on humans, it's birds on birds.
Whoa. Rakes like vampire bats, mosquitoes, those are other.
Yeah, even any of the other ones that were listed,
Right.
they're more parasitic to other species.
Right. It's not mosquito on mosquito.
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm
they-
so excited right now.
They don't do it to each other, but they do it to
other birds.
like boobies is the kind of bird. Yeah, of course I knew you were going to do that. It's especially when insects are sparse. So it's not
Sure.
their necessarily preferred form of sustenance. The boobies are incredibly vulnerable when they tend to nests and chicks. So when they're tending to their young and are reluctant to abandon them, even temporarily. And so vampire finches will just descend upon
Oh
them,
my gosh.
land on their backs and tails and wings,
Ah.
and open substantial wounds
Oh.
with their beaks and drink their blood.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose because, yeah, they're a bird. They don't have like a latch and suck
No.
apparatus.
Yeah. They peck and drink.
Oh.
Yeah. So they really are like a parasite. Like they don't kill
Sure.
them, but they just drain their blood. And so for the boobies, their whole experience is really similar to people being bitten by mosquitoes.
Oh.
It's very
But
similar.
they have like a full wound afterwards.
Well, you get bites that are left.
Yeah. Okay. And to be
Yeah.
fair, my ankles right now are effed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they tolerate them, and
Really?
yeah, when it gets to be too much, they do end up like kind of forcing them away, but most
Otherwise,
of
they
it,
just
they just
tolerate.
They're like, uncomfortable, but whatever.
What?
Yeah.
God, that just sounds so much worse. And like
Uh-huh.
body size wise, like we're so much bigger than a booby, and mosquitoes are so much smaller than a bird. So like, I don't know, just that size comparison freaks me out.
So the wound, would probably be bigger. And I mean, they definitely bleed from it.
Right.
So it is more. But the way they react to it
It's
is
just
more
kind
like
of
a
the same.
mosquito.
Okay, because I picture them like, no, get away.
No,
But-
they're like, oh, yeah. And so they believe that it was likely that originally the finches were eating bugs and parasites that were already on the feathers and skin of
Sure.
the boobies, but then once they had done a really good job of that and were still hungry and there wasn't anything else, they
This
just
went to the
continued to
booby.
bite the skin, and they're like, this tastes good.
Oh, so it started out symbiotic.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. But they have long, pointy beaks. They have the longest and pointiest of the finches.
Sorry, isn't there an audio somewhere? A pointy beak.
Really?
I think so. I don't know why.
I don't have that echolalia.
A pointy beak. I'll see if I can find it.
Please do.
Anyway.
Oh my goodness. But that's not the only thing that differentiates them from other finches. They also have a different microbiome, like within their stomachs or something. They have some sort of other, I don't know the word, they have some sort of like bacteria within their stomachs that are very different than the other finches. That it just stays there, and it helps them to actually like break down and have the blood be
No, it makes sense because
like
it's
good
like
for them.
how cattle can ferment grass.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Okay, they have a different
Yeah.
ecosystem going on. In their gut.
Yeah. And I was trying to find out if there were any stories or any specific, like almost spooky things that like have these appeared in literature as being like a vampire deal or something like that. And I couldn't find them. When I looked up vampire birds or vampire finches, either one I looked up in poetry, it came up with poems about vampire bats.
Oh.
And they called them birds.
But I suppose if
in
they
the
leave
poems.
people alone, there probably
Right.
just haven't been a lot of concern.
There is like some sort of sci-fi thing where people have made up the American vampire finch that goes after people, but I haven't seen it in any actual story other than it just being like, this is a creature. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
Right?
I immediately was like, where are they from? And I was like, no, let her talk. Like, that's crazy. Is that them?
Yeah. Well, so like I have a picture I can show
Yeah.
Erin here. So it shows this bird's beak is bloodied. And then he lifts up like the feather to see, I don't know if that's the gullet or just like the throat to see that it's full of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely where the gullet, where the gizzards.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And then a booby with a bloody back.
Oh. My booby story. If you'd like. Is this the one that you're like, you'll tangent on
Yeah,
this? Okay.
yeah.
It's not even that exciting, but I worked at a preschool through all of college. I worked at it was a work study program, so I worked for the university's preschool for staff students or staff's kids. And we had a Birds of the World calendar, and it was up, and this little boy came up to me and he was getting picked up. Like his mom was there, and he just goes, Erin, what type of bird is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I looked, and just without even thinking to filter myself, I'm like, oh, it's a blue-footed booby. And he just, booby. And he would not shut up. And his mom was right there, and she was just like, oh boy. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. But he totally knew what that word was already, you know? But I just didn't even think. I'm just like, this is a blue-footed booby. And it just, as soon as I said it, I was like, can I suck it back in? Like, don't hear that. Don't.
If he got the joke, it's the parents' fault or public school's fault.
That's fair. That's true. And he was like 4.
Oh.
So, because he was in preschool still. So he hadn't even been to public school yet. So I'm going to go with that as a parent's fault. I love that.
You're welcome. I thought you would enjoy that.
Birds. I wonder if they're on the Merlin ID app. Have I gotten you hooked on that one?
No.
Okay, it's the coolest app. Actually, Ladies and Tangents, we're talking about it now, and I was like, oh my god, they're bird people too. So Merlin Bird ID is an app, and it actually records live. And so here, this is what it looks like.
Oh, birdie.
And then you hit this little sound button and it will listen for them and it'll give you live, like it'll pop up and be like, that was a cardinal. Oh, it doesn't believe you.
Doesn't believe me.
That's so good, though. I actually have been meaning to have you try that. But it'll do it live. Like when we were camping, I just had it going and it would pop up like cardinal, robin, and then it would flash, like show which one was singing. It's really neat. So you should totally get that, like set it up. Sit on when you're reading on your porch.
Yeah.
It's neat. I'm going to take a very different turn.
Okay, cool.
I'm also going to be jumping between my phone for screenshots and my notes.
That's fair.
Today, I'm going to be talking, we're going on sea monster side of mermaids. We're going to be talking about leviathans.
The Leviathan?
Yes. Yes. So that's why I thought you might have something to add, perhaps.
I love that word.
What is a leviathan? It is described as a sea serpent of mythology and theology. Ooh, words are hard already. And then it kind of can be used two different ways. It can be referring to a specific creature, or it can also be used as almost like a descriptive word. So it can be a very large and powerful creature, i.e. a whale even. It's been thought that's been compared to a whale in some stories. Or a very large and powerful thing. So it's used kind of the same way. We'll be like, wow, that's a beast. You know, like that is a beast of a bear. You know, like it's kind of descriptive like that. So it can be used both. It appears largely in the Old Testament of the Bible, which is wild, specifically in Psalms, Isaiah, and Job. So I screenshotted those because I was not writing down Bible verses. Psalms 74:14, which for anyone who's listening and doesn't know how the Bible's laid out, it's in books. So that's what like Psalms is. It's that book. So essentially like that chapter kind of.
Which has chapters.
Right. So you go to the book of Psalms and then the first number 74 is the chapter and then the second one is the verse.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the coordinates to help you find where it is in the Bible. Psalms 74:14 says, "You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness." Different versions of the Bible, because there's different wording in different ones, say, "Thou breakest the head of Leviathan in pieces and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness."
Cool.
Pretty metal. Isaiah 27:1 says, "In that day the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan the gilding serpent, Leviathan the coiling serpent, he will slay the monster of the sea." Job 40, starting at verse 15, going all the way to chapter 41.
Ooh.
Very short verses, though, so I'm just going to read that whole thing because it's relevant. Because behemoth also came up quite a bit, so we'll talk a titch about that too. But so starting at verse 15, it says, "Look at behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. What strength it has in its loins, what power in its muscle of its belly. Its tail sways like a cedar, the sinews of its thighs are close knit. Its bones are tubes of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. It ranks first among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword. The hills bring it their produce, and all the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plant it lies, hidden among the reeds of the marsh. The lotuses conceal it in the shadows, and poplars by the stream surround it. A raging river does not alarm it. It is secure though the Jordan should surge against its mouth. Can anyone capture it by the eyes or trap it and pierce its nose?" Now the following chapter, 41, goes into, "Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaws with a hook? Will it keep begging you for mercy? Will it speak to you with most gentle words?" And then it keeps going into all of this. So it talks a little bit about the behemoth and Leviathan. So what is a behemoth? Kind of the same thing as Leviathan in the way it can be a specific creature. In the Bible, it's described as being a creation of God, but it can also be used kind of in that same, that's a behemoth of a, is that an adjective?
It's like a beast. Yeah, it's like you said, like it's a beast of a thing.
Yeah. So it's described as a huge monstrous creature, something enormous, big, powerful. So hence what we were discussing, how it's surrounded by poplars, it's very tree-like. That's kind of all that it says in the Bible about either of those that I could find easily. There are leviathans and behemoths that come up in some different parts of pop culture. Risha's nodding. I feel like you have one that comes to mind.
No.
No? Okay.
Specifically.
And I didn't go too far into that, but I was finding different characters and...
I do have one that comes to mind, but it's not in pop culture.
What is it?
So it's a stone, like sea serpent where you have like the tail sticking out of the ground and then you have the hump and then you have the head.
Sure.
So it's like 3 pieces, but it looks like they're like in
Yeah.
the ground. So I grew up with that in my yard.
Oh my gosh, fun.
And we called it Levi the Leviathan.
Oh my gosh,
So,
that's so cute.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why. I have a hard time connecting because I know this is out of the Bible. So obviously people believe in there being some great creature. So, also I should clarify. The Leviathan is described very much as a water being.
Yes.
Specifically, which is one is male and one is female.
Oh, really?
Yeah. From that, what I was finding, I hear a love
like
story.
the Leviathans? Or like the behemoth?
One is a male and one is a female, like the Leviathan and the behemoth.
Really?
Yeah. So here are some descriptions of both of them, because I realized I didn't actually say what they look like. Behemoth is described as a huge grass-eating beast of the earth, which I think is interesting that it's an herbivore. The word behemoth is the plural of livestock and is often used to refer to beasts of the field or woods. Some communicators have suggested that behemoth was an elephant or hippopotamus, but others say that the description doesn't match. For example, behemoth is said to, quote, move his tail like a cedar, which some suggest he is describing a sauropod dinosaur.
I was thinking dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I went with it too. Whereas Leviathan is described as a sea monster that is untamable and cannot be wounded. In Isaiah 27:1, Leviathan is also a serpent and a symbol of Israel's enemies who will be slain by God. It's also a symbol of God's power of creation. And it's very much like a water dweller.
Is the Leviathan the one that can go around the entire earth? Like it's that big?
I don't know. It might be. I didn't see that. Here we go. Behemoth is the unconquerable male land monster. Oh, okay. So it also pops up in a lot of like Jewish texts too. I'm so bad at pronouncing these words. Can you say that first line? Do you know how to say those words?
In Jewish Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha.
There we go. What she said. Such as the 2nd century BC book of Enoch.
Enoch, yeah.
Okay. 67 through 10. Behemoth is the unconquerable male land monster living in an invisible desert, Duodon, east of the Garden of Eden, as Leviathan is the primeval? Yeah. So why am I struggling so hard? Primeval female sea monster dwelling in, quote, the abyss. And Ziz, the primordial sky monster. I didn't find anything else on Ziz because I just didn't want to keep diving into that because I felt like we'd never stop.
Well, fair.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if Leviathan is the one that can go all the way around the world. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, there's a huge serpent, but I don't remember if it's the Leviathan or if it's another large sea serpent.
All right, editing Erin, cut out this weird awkward pause while we're searching for it. In Norse mythology, the serpent Jormungandr, also known as the Midgard serpent or world serpent, encircles the world by holding its tail in its mouth. Ooh, the Midgard is... That's a nice little ACOTAR reference, too.
Oh.
The Midgard worm.
Yeah, Midgard means earth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Norse mythology.
This is why I just semi-prepare things and hope you can guide me. And there are a lot of serpents involved, too. Other serpents that encircle the world include... Oh, boy. I didn't look this up before I started, so I don't know any of these pronunciations. Ouroboros, a symbol in Hinduism that forms the foundation of the earth and depicts a serpent or dragon swallowing its own tail.
Oh.
Antiboga, the world serpent in traditional Javanese mythology. And Shisha, the serpent in Hindu mythology that contains the universe. So apparently this is all over. Oh boy, is the world serpent real or fake? Wait, what? This is gonna be like when I found out Aqua Baby died and I was like falling down a whole nother...
I do think the Leviathan's supposed to be female.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's what I found too. It says
Yeah.
the Leviathan's female and the male monster is the behemoth. Which, I'm sorry, that just screams enemies to lovers. Right? Every time I read that, I'm like, so they fall in love.
Well, I thought it would have been opposite because
Earth is
usually
female.
Gaia female, and also like sometimes I feel like they think behemoth is kind of cattle-like,
Oh.
and so like Hera is like the goddess of cows too.
Oh, interesting, because I felt like it kind of fit, because like water and moon cycles is considered very female.
Sure. And see, I was thinking serpents can look a little phallic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
And I
don't
think
know.
of like the bull for the behemoth.
Oh, sure.
But I can see that too.
Yeah.
Oh, it kind of goes either way.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a really great love story there that I need someone else to write. I'd read that fan fiction.
You would.
Sorry, back to some sort of notes here. I don't even have that much left, but now that we've tangented. In some Jewish legends, Behemoth and Leviathan fight each other in a great battle. I know. I did not know about this either.
On land or sea? Because I feel like if they were in sea, that would just
So,
you're gone.
what do you think happened? Do you have any bets on who won?
The Leviathan.
It's a trick question. They both died.
Uh-huh.
So the Leviathan, and depending on where I read, it was kind of different, but basically they killed each other at the same moment.
Sure.
So I think it was like the behemoth's horn pierced the Leviathan at the same time as the Leviathan's fin cut the behemoth.
Oh.
They both ended up dying, and again, different religious texts and different translations, and I can only read one language, and I still read that one quite poorly. So there are different versions. But it was something along the lines of like, this was part of God's promise that people would witness this great battle, and then they feasted on the meat of the two animals.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's what happened to Leviathan and Behemoth. And that's really all I've got. It just, maybe we'll have to have a separate episode where we fall down the giant snake hole. I don't know how I can.
They were originally like symbols of wisdom.
Do you want to do it? I was gonna say I can do it, but if you want to.
A snake goddess statue.
Can we do a bonus snake episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we each want to do like a bonus snake?
Well, we could do it at the same time and bring different aspects.
That's what I'm thinking. Should
Yeah.
we do that? Okay.
Mhm.
Do you want to do that after the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got really hyped.
I did.
Do you want to tell me what you're doing so I don't also end up
Sure.
doing it? Okay. What are you? Do you want just when you decide? Do you want to just text me?
Yeah.
Or-
Minoan snake goddess.
Minoan?
Minoan.
Minoan. Oh, you do love your
I
Minoans.
do love the Minoans.
All right. All right. I cannot do that. That's fine. I like it.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's what I've got.
Cool.
If there's anything you want to see us cover, message us on Instagram at vampsandmers. You can also email us vampsandandmers@gmail.com. We would love your recommendations and ideas or corrections. Just please be nice.
Yeah.
We're delicate.
Yeah.
Unless I'm feeling spicy.
You're often feeling spicy.
I do, but words still hurt. Yeah, you're right. I'm feeling spicy today. I'm all sorts of off. Okay, I need to end this episode, don't I?
Yeah.
All right. Stay thirsty and keep wet.
Cover your necks and watch your tails.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
TapestryRadio.org.
From our fancy to yours.